Welcome everybody to our brown bag series. We've had a series of 10 during this Voices and Votes Smithsonian exhibit, and we've had a really nice blend, I think, of the humanities and the fine arts. And Ruth Gilmore Langs' work really complemented the Smithsonian exhibit beautifully, really added a wonderful dimension. If you haven't been in yet to see it, the exhibit is still up for the remainder of this week. And then you can also, of course, catch after the fact. We have just about everything on video on our website, so you can see the exhibit and see some of the other programming. So without further ado, we've got some slides here of some of the photographs, and here is Ruth at work. And Ruth, do you want to maybe just give a little bit of your background to begin?
Yes, I'd love to. And thank you so much for having me on this talk and sharing my work with your community. It's a real honor to be a part. So grateful. So I want to thank you so much, Roxanne, for asking me to do this. So I'm an abstract expressionist painter, and I've been a painter since nursery school. When I was 3 and 4 years old, I remember so vividly, more than anything, walking up to those easels with the paper and enjoying more than anything throwing my paint on that. But as life is such a journey, twists and turns and all the different things we try and do, I never really stopped painting. I continued to paint, but I worked in Washington, D.C. as a TV producer for 10 years. And it was still a very creative media. I always worked in a creative field in some way. But after I had my first child, working in television is not really conducive to parenting. I didn't feel there's a lot of 24-hour days, one after the next. So I started to more seriously pick up my painting again. And serendipitously, I found a teacher actually in California. I'm in Michigan, but he was in California, and but we clicked so intensely. He's also from China. He was trained in China and had such a different philosophy than anything I had been exposed to. And I started working with him. His name was Kwok Wai Lau, and he impacted me tremendously. I worked with him for 10 years, in and out, a couple times a year, but it was always very intense when I worked with him. And the rest of the time that I wasn't seeing him, it was very easy to work very hard on all the things that he taught me. And after the first couple of years of working with him, he said, Ruth, you're an abstract expressionist painter. And I said, no, I'm not. I can't understand that work. And I just don't see it. He goes, just wait, just wait. So slowly he started to pull apart Joan Mitchell and Richard Diebenkorn and Rauschenberg and explaining to me how to see. And once that started to happen, I got it. And it's a very difficult path. I think personally, I feel it's one of the hardest in the arts. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to be abstract expressionist and then you just walk into that world. You can, but I don't know that my paintings were very good. So, it's something I think I can develop for the rest of my life and continue to develop. So that's my journey, not in a nutshell.
Okay, well, that's great. And perhaps as we go along, you can maybe elucidate a little bit on some of these things that he taught you that you were able to then express. Here's the, I wanted to start with this one, since I believe you said that this was one of the very first pieces you did, and it was really in response to 9/11. Is that right?
Yes, yes. Let me just change my screen so I can see what you're looking at. Yeah, this picture, I was fortunate enough to show this show in Miami. And this was opening night in Miami. And this painting was actually the second painting to the series. I think I may have told you, Roxanne, it was the first, but it's the second. And, you know, when I work in expressionism, part of that means that you open yourself up to the painting and you start with a glimmer of an idea, you start with a color, and you don't really know where you're headed. You don't want to know because you want to be able to communicate with the piece in the moment. And in this painting, because of the grief I was feeling of 9/11, it was black. And then I started to put the USAs in there. And then as I kept moving, I put the number 11. And as I was repeating 11, this was part of the thing. When you work this way, the 11 very clearly became the Twin Towers. And very much on their own, they fall. And it's not going right to left, it's going left to right. So if you start there with the 11 and then it just moves into the chaos, that was my experience. And it was, for me, a very emotional piece. And then I did finish it with not USA, but us, and the one line of red for our blood.
That's what I was going to ask you about, the one line of red, but yeah, it is very powerful.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now this is not the whole picture, is it?
It's not. It looks cropped, but it's close.
Yeah, this is the one, isn't it, that we have up in the upstairs exhibit?
It is. This one is in the exhibit.
Right, and there's like a silver star up at the top.
Yes.
Right? Yes, okay.
Yeah. One of the things that kept happening to me in painting the country is I just couldn't resist. Michigan was always predominant. It was very hard to not play favorites. The beauty of this series is I've been painting it since 9/11, and I add a couple pieces every year, and I probably will continue to do that. Yeah, and it evolves. And when you paint the country so many times over and over, there's many that I've never made it to the series, but they were just, you know, practicing. And it becomes very fluid and very fun to paint the country. So this piece is actually one of my last pieces, because I may have started it 10 years ago, but I continued to work on it and work on it and work on it. And I think it's finally done. I'm not going to go back into this painting. This painting very much made me feel the machine of America. It felt much more mechanical to me in this piece.
How, and maybe there is no answer for this, but how do you know when you're done?
Well, that is a very good question. And it's funny because sometimes I think I'm done every time it's the end of the day and I'm tired and I'm not done. But I think it was Monet that said, when you add one too many paint strokes, you have to start the whole piece over again. And that's when you're done, because there's real truth to that. You can put one too many on, and then it affects the whole piece. And you're like, whoa, back up. It was done. You're going to be starting all over again.
This is the top of that piece. Did we again? Okay, and this is one of my favorites. Tell me about what you were feeling with this one.
Oh, thank you so much. This piece was in Art Prize.
Oh, okay.
At the Van Andel Arena. I was actually thinking very much about the West during this piece, even though I'm painting the whole country. I was thinking about the wide expanse, the wide open spaces, the fields and fields of mountains and beautiful plains and sunsets. That's what I was conjuring in this piece. And I do think, you don't really want to, as an abstract painter, you don't really want to find images in your painting. But in this piece, I do see a skull that I chose to just leave. So.
Okay. Is this the same one?
This is a different USA.
Okay. Okay.
This piece is
we
in
have
your, yes.
Okay.
Are we seeing the same one? It's got all red in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Oh,
is,
yes, I know. Yes, I know which one it is. Okay.
and we're on a small screen. These are huge, as you know. And so that's kind of an interesting thing to show them in different parts of the country when they're so big. Getting them around is always a thing. I believe that one of the things, this painting is probably the peak of feeling just patriotic. And it's weird. It's kind of uncomfortable because it's when I painted this a long time ago, 12 years ago, maybe, I was responding, to growing up in the 60s and 70s and listening to the Beatles and Jim Morrison and Cream and all those wild, fun singers talking about freedom. And I think that the whole series is a response to being grateful that I have a sense of freedom in America. And to show these paintings now is kind of another matter because of all the different political things that have come up to the surface. But my personal mission and intention was gratitude for freedom. And how people will see these paintings is all different. And I've kind of come to believe that these paintings are mirrors for people, and they get to feel how they feel about America. I don't get to be the one that says, even though the paintings came through me. So I think I'm in response to the intensity. This painting is very intense with the red. Red is always a very strong emotional color to use. And there's a lot of red in here, but it's powerful. It's even powerful for me to see the painting. Somebody, I think it was, oh gosh, what artist was this? Some really good, I might've been Picasso, who said, the painter and the person standing back from the painting are two different people. So when I'm in this painting and creating this painting, it's kind of a different matter than when I'm talking to you and looking at it myself as a viewer. They're really, you can ask me about that if that doesn't make sense, but they're really two different things.
One of the things that kind of strikes me with this one is the outline. The outlines of the US are different on all of them, and the blue on this is just, it's balanced so interestingly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what about the outlines? Are you curious about
Well,
why?
yeah, yeah. How
Yeah.
do you start with the outline?
Not always. Not always. In fact, I think the blue might have been one of the last things I did.
Mhm.
I was kind of curious. I know you said that sometimes Michigan gets highlighted intentionally or not because the UP is basically, I mean, I know this is huge in real life, but the UP has basically become one, excuse me, one gigantic brush stroke. It looks like, you know, at least at this size. So I was kind of curious about that, if that was an intentional choice in the moment or just something that happens as you're making your way around.
Well, I think that it's definitely something that happens as I'm making my way around, but then I intentionally take it away or leave it. And I did like that moment very much, that it was just one big brush stroke for the UP. And like anything, when you have the opportunity to paint it many, many times, you have an opportunity to become so much more freer with what you're doing because you're very familiar. Like maybe the first one, I'm like, oh, the UP, you know, and then by the end, which is really good for an abstract expressionist, you can just express the UP. And even that's even true with the blue line. By the end, the blue line is like, okay, this is my chance just to be free.
Well, it
And
almost, I mean, it feels like it's an electrical current that goes around it. You know, there's something just so brilliant about that blue.
it's a beautiful blue. The very first picture I think you showed of me working on one of my big pieces, here, I learned from my teacher, Lau. Well, I was already doing this, but he underscored it for me that often when I'm painting, I'm dancing.
Mm.
It's a very high energy experience. So I think this picture shows that.
Mhm.
Except then you do have to step back, I don't know, maybe 100 times and see what you made. What did I do?
Oh,
But here I'm in it, in the dance.
all right. Well, here we have another one.
Yeah, this piece with the gold leaf.
I love the gold leaf.
Yeah, the gold leaf over black. I love that too. And I think that in a way, it's just holding the preciousness of our country. And one thing that did begin to happen, which was a magical moment for me, is when you repeat the word America and you don't make any spaces,
Mm-hmm.
it reads, I came, America.
Yeah, I see that now.
Yeah. So I did.
And Eric.
And Eric, oh, my son-in-law, he'll like that. So I think that, you know, if you're not Native American, we all came here.
Mhm.
So isn't that interesting that the word actually,
It came out that way.
it comes out that way when you repeat it. And I used it more and more later on in some of my other pieces, but this was the piece that I became aware of that.
Okay, this is a little small. I don't know why it came out that way, but
This was the very first
oh, this
USA.
one.
This is. And I started the numbers. I started the paintings with number 9. And then the second painting is 11.
Mm.
So this is number 9. And the reason it's the first is because I was just painting and America emerged, which is part of being an abstract painter. For me, things will emerge and you either acknowledge them or you change them. And I decided to acknowledge this, and this was the beginning of the series, which was a fun awakening for me.
Yeah, and one that you've built on for over a decade.
I know, 2 decades,
Yeah.
2
And
decades.
this one, I wish we had a better picture of this. This is pretty good. I mean, this is better than the one I had. You gave it to me, but the texture of this is so interesting when you see it in person. And I think you mentioned that you used to be a weaver.
That's right. That's right. I love weaving. I miss it, but I don't see myself going back to it. It's a very intense art form with all the threads, but
Mhm.
I love texture. I've always loved texture. I had an incredible weaving teacher. I went to Western for a year and I was in their art department, and Helmy Moulton was their weaving teacher, the most wonderful woman from the UP. And she really inspired me to love texture, and I use it in my paint now. And this painting is really about texture, and it doesn't translate in a photograph,
Yeah.
but in person, it's huge, thick paint, white paint of America and gold leaf.
Do you do anything in particular in terms of the technique to get your paint thick?
Well, over the
Or just
years,
slather it on?
I've just used paint. I haven't had much luck with mixing thicker mediums into my paint, but I'm always kind of experimenting with that. But this painting is just pure paint, thick white paint and cream paint over color. So it's a lot of layering and a lot of palette knives.
Do you ever have to worry about stuff like crumbling off?
I do worry about it, but I haven't. Only time I've had things crumble off is when I've used a medium.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll keep that in mind when we have to wrap this back up Friday.
You shouldn't have a problem. The paintings are so sturdy. The only way to really hurt a painting is if you poked a knife through it. But
Okay,
they're
well, then we're
very,
good.
yeah, which, none of us want to do that.
Is there anything you'd like to say about this one?
Yes, throughout the series, and almost every painting, there's just you in it. Because isn't it all about us and where we live and how we want to live and who we want to be? And just always felt like it was up to us, you, not USA. Yeah, but what about you? And really, what about me? I'm not trying to put that onto people unless they want to take it on, but it's about all of us. We represent our country, every one of us.
Oop, that was it. That was the last one.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to this one. Oh, no, I'm going to go back to the screen show. There we go. Well, thank you. Now I want to go back into the gallery and look at each one of these again.
Now this one has a U in it. Now you can see.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, that's repeated through the pieces.
Well, let's look here. Oh, and there it is in this one. I see it.
Okay, yeah, there it is.
And
it's in here, but it was just, I did USA, but made the
right,
U
but the U
dominant.
stands out because of the black. Yeah.
Oh, and here it is off again to the right, on top of the yellow shape.
So Ruth, I have a question about that one that's separate, the U separate. So that's just really identifying the U that you're talking about? Yeah, no.
This one?
No, the one that on the little post, the yellow post that she said was separate.
Oh, okay. That was in this one?
Nope, keep going. Keep going. That right there. Nope.
There.
Yep. So you have the black U, but then you also have the separate U to the side.
That's right.
So they're really the same meaning. I mean, they're there for the same purpose.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But the meaning really, in any of my pieces, the meaning is up to the viewer.
Right.
You cannot, as an artist, as you may know, probably know, you don't give the meaning to the viewer. And people come up with things that surprise me and delight me all the time in my work, and things I never thought of.
Yeah.
So it's always a mind expanding thing for me to share and show too.
Can you think of one of the most surprising things that anyone said to you as far as what they saw?
Oh, offhand. Not really. That's not funny. But I was working really hard on a painting, and my husband, he's my late husband, came home from work and said, "My goodness, you have a dog howling at the moon there." And I hadn't seen it, but as soon as he said it, oh my God, the whole piece was a dog howling at the moon. I wasn't happy about that one, but you take what you can get. And it was a good thing. It was a good thing that he said that. He was my muse in a way, because he caught me when things weren't going right. So offhand, no, I'd have to think about that. I mean, in a more, what someone said that was like, wow. Probably through the USA series, but the series as a whole, what people get out of it.
Mhm.
Mostly I've experienced people being inspired and energized. And that is a gift to hear. If you can use your work to put out energy that makes people feel good or gives them pause, I think that's a good goal as an artist.
So Ruth, I might have missed this because I jumped in a little bit late. These pieces are so large. Do they ever get like displayed somewhere that will stay for a while? Like we just had it for a short exhibit, but have you had this series? You said you showed it in Miami first, but or does it just sit in a warehouse? Because I'm like, people need to see this.
Oh, that's so great and kind. Thank you. Well, I did not show this series at all. I've actually just begun showing it in the last 2 years, and this is its third show. So it does not have a permanent home, but I'd be more than open to letting that happen if the time comes that it wants to go into a collection somewhere. There are 4 pieces that are in a permanent home, permanent collection in this country. And so they are no longer part of the whole series, but they're more of these, but I had collectors who wanted them. So I did let that happen.
So
And
they're not collected it with like all 4 together. Different collectors have them.
yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been exciting to let them out and be shown. And often paintings have a life of their own. So we will see where these go. I never dreamed they'd be in Big Rapids, and here they are. And it almost didn't happen. Thank goodness for Roxanne offering that. And then somehow we figured out how to get them there. They didn't come up from Miami. And yeah, and they're huge.
Yeah.
And
They're
she wasn't sure
huge.
she was going to be able to drive to Florida. And so, yeah, it's all pins and needles there until the end.
Yeah,
It makes
that's
sense
right.
to me. It makes sense to me now why we were getting a U-Haul to move these.
Yeah.
I didn't know it
Now
at
you
the time.
get
I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, okay, I got it.
Well,
know.
okay, so like, isn't there a 9/11 commission? Do they even know about this, or like, or do you have to do your own promotion? I would imagine.
Yeah, I do. I do. And that's always an artist's dilemma, is making work and or promoting work. And they don't always jive.
Yeah,
So I think it would take somebody seeing us talking today and saying, well, that should be, we should show that. And then it gets its
Right.
next job, so to speak. And I do spend quite a bit of time working on things, but I also need to work and paint, you know, which is, yeah. So it's a juggling act, but that's part of it.
Ruth, is your teacher still alive?
He is.
Has he seen this?
He saw it in the beginning, and we've lost touch, unfortunately, for over the years. But yeah, in the very beginning, he was a big part of this push that I was going to go this direction.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe you'll get back in touch and you can send him the link.
Yeah. Good idea. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Ruth, I'm a little curious. You said Lao studied in China. Are there intentional elements from Eastern religion and philosophy that got brought over when you're talking about the difference between, you know, the doing and the observing, having to step back, or even I'm thinking of like the whirling dervishes with like the dance that you're doing as you're painting. Was there any elements of that? Is that just something that I'm inserting in there?
I think most definitely. And I don't know if I could like exactly attribute it to a certain Eastern philosophy, but the information that he would feed me with when I was working felt very different to me. And it was very much about being present.
Yeah, it seems almost meditative, right?
Very much.
Yeah, okay.
And he was very clear to me that as a painter, I was communicating energy, and letting that energy come through me and through my hand, through the brush, onto the canvas, which is a wonderful way to work, because it keeps you on your toes. It allows you to be in the moment. Like when you put down the blue, and then you put down an orange, and then you put down a green. How is that working? What energy is that communicating? And allowing that to be part of movement. And I mean, I don't know, I imagine there's plenty, but I don't know teachers who communicate that you're painting energy. And he was really about that. And when I do really get into a painting, you know, you really kind of go somewhere. And he was so supportive of that process. And you're vulnerable as an artist. All of us are. I mean, if you're a dancer, an actor, you're really putting a part of you out there that, I don't know, you could, a lot of people aren't shy, but I'm kind of shy about that part of myself. And I got so much support to just allow that to happen. And when I did dance around a painting, and I often have like brushes coming out of my mouth and 5 or 6 brushes on my hands with different colors. And then I know, like, he would support me that you're gone, and that's good. That's where you should go. And I found a great deal of success for myself being supported that way. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Thank you for that.
Okay, good. Good. I teach painting, and I have some wonderful students. I've had wonderful students over the years, but I really talk a lot in the beginning that abstract painting is a different language. And that's why I didn't understand it in the beginning when Lau said, I think that's your direction, because sometimes you can't, when you look at Joan Mitchell or Richard Diebenkorn, often, you know, you can hear people say, well, I could do that. That's kindergarten work. But when you really learn the language of what they're doing, it's so brilliant. You can never do it in a million years. It's not just wild brush strokes. There's so much to it, but slowly it will open up to you if you keep looking at the pieces and allow them to open up to you. You will begin to see why it's brilliant, why these people were geniuses. And then the other thing that I really focus on in my work and in my teaching is that these paintings appear sometimes to be so chaotic, but they would never work if they were pure chaos. You can't just go and say, I'm a free painter. Well, you can do whatever you want. But if you really want to advance yourself as an artist in a painting, it's not just about being a free painter. It's about where is the order in the chaos, because you want to have high energy in your work, but you can't only have high energy. Where's the order? So it's got the freedom, but it's got a groundedness. Not unlike being a drummer in a band, you know, and the singer goes way off. Dave Matthews goes way off into some fabulous singing, but the drummer is always there, you know? And it's the same thing with abstract expressionism. And that's something I think that is a big piece of the language of abstract expressionism. There's a language there.
Well, this has been great, Ruth, and
Yeah.
I just, I really want to get in and now look at everything all over again.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Roxanne.
And in case you weren't here to hear us talking ahead of time, we're having Ruth back in February, and she has a new series that she's going to
Oh,
be
nice.
showing us, and it's all with a river theme, and it's called Lifeline. And so we'll have her here for our Festival of the Arts this year, and we'll try to arrange some special programming around that also.
Very excited for
Yeah.
that. So it's a whole new theme that we're beginning, and also I think such an important one for our planet.
Mm-hmm. And so important in Michigan. You know?
Yes, yes.
And it definitely fits Artworks arc well, because our last Smithsonian before Voices and Boats was waterways about rivers. Now we have your USA series for Voices and Boats, and then we'll get your river work next.
Oh, that's it's great. It's very exciting.
Well,
I
thank
really
you again.
appreciate it.
Thank you again, and we will have this recording posted out there on our website so that others can enjoy hearing you talk about your journey into abstract expressionism.
Oh,
Thanks
thank you.
again, Ruth.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it.